A lot of times, children at this age aren't sure how to enter into play. Maybe there's a group of children that have already, have an established friendship outside of school, or maybe they just know each other from previous social interactions. So oftentimes a new child, especially a child who might be a little more shy or a little more reserved, doesn't really know how to break into that group. And that's a lot of the trouble that we see at this age, is just children having a hard time breaking into social play. And so we do a lot to kind of scaffold and model and help them, give them the words to say, can I play?
Being close to that child is so important. If we think we're going to spend a little time helping him move into play, even if it's a child who's very reticent and just wants to sit on the floor, like one little girl here sat on the floor and just held her baby doll and didn't say anything. But it turns out she was not unaware of what was going on. She was more comfortable just talking to the teacher, but she was also comfortable being in the group of children because the teacher was there. Look at what a good idea you had, Isabel. You needed a place. Oh, and look at that. You needed a place too. Look at that. What good idea to get a space. We have some more spaces on this. It must be a van or a bus. Look at all these spaces we have for people. Fantastic. Going to bring some coffee in the van? Seth, did you tell the riders what other idea you had for places to go? The same for the children who are out of bounds or have trouble stopping themselves. It's so important to be right there. There's nothing more powerful than just as they're about to bomb through and spread everything over, if you come with your arms and you say, "Oh, what are these children doing, Alexander? What's going on here? Doesn't this look like fun? You just came over because you saw all these kids here and you thought, these kids are having fun." And then you model and you say what's going on. What teachers do all the time with young children, you literally say what's happening. Oh, this is their work. They put the things on the table. And then you might say, do you want to sit down and eat with them, or do you want to give them a toy? There's nothing more powerful than teaching a young child to offer a toy to other children, to offer the doll, offer to, here's some food for your baby, here's a bottle for your baby, here's a blanket for your baby, and the adult still being right there to help him with those kinds of things.
We're going to play. Yes. At school, we might look around and sort of put ourselves in that child's head and say, who's someone that has similar interests? A lot of times it's the quieter children that might find other children's play too stimulating or too loud, and say, okay, let's find someone that they have similar interests, similar play style, and sort of nudge them together a little bit. If we see them doing a puzzle, oh, let's see if we can help them with the puzzle. Sometimes they'll be kind of joined at your hip a little bit and sort of be your shadow, and you keep trying to move them gradually over. You move yourself into the area, and then you move yourself back as much as you can with them still being comfortable and still being interested. And you just have to know it just takes a while. It's going to take some time. And not every child is comfortable being in the big group. It can be a personality thing, so we're not always concerned about that as long as they're able to interact and they're developing their skills at their own pace.
Jessica, you have some visitors today.
Okay.
May they come in?
Sure.
Okay, Jessica said...
I just locked the door. You can come in now.
Well, as you get a feel for your group, you can see who the strong players are, and you try to pair somebody who may not be as adept at it with somebody who's a strong player and willing to include somebody else. Or I might take on a role myself and knock on the door and say, you've got some company, we'd like to come for dinner. And then once the child who's having some difficulty is incorporated, I will step back. But I may put a hat on, I may join in for a little while and sort of model what this child could do to be included and how we can find a role for everybody.
How's our castle coming? There's one over there. That's the same.
In our classroom, we don't do a lot of superhero play. What we've told the children is that there are no bad guys at our school, so we don't need the superheroes here to keep us safe. What I have done is I did find some play-action dolls that are rescuing dolls that only go out there, firefighters and other things, and they go out and rescue without trying to catch a bad guy. It's difficult because, you know, this is a big theme and has been for many years, but in our classroom we found that was the most constructive way to approach it, and we just tried to refocus their interest.
There's an evolution ghost Pokemon tower around here so we can catch evolution ghost Pokemon. I catch the ghost Pokemon. What is it? Go Pokemon! I caught Gengar! Wait a second! We're not to the haunted tower yet!
And if you see, you know, that it's getting a little out of hand or a little out of control, to try to pull it back in and say, for instance, this morning we had a firefighter who started to hit another child with his firefighter equipment, and the teacher said, you know, firefighters don't hurt, they help. And that was all she needed to say, and it got him to say, well, this is the hose and I'll put the fire out with this water. If, as the facilitator, you can draw kids into what else does Pokemon do, and how can Pokemon be helpful, or how can the Dino Riders be helpful, or how can Evel Knievel be helpful, or how can the Lone Ranger be helpful, whoever it is that they're playing about, what else do they do besides fight? And ask the kids to reflect on that. Generally you'll see things like the Ninja Turtles having lunch, or the Ninja Turtles taking care of babies, or the Power Rangers going to the doctor. And in that context, it's fine. It really is fine. It's just when it turns to all hurting and good guys and bad guys that it needs to be redirected.
One of the best ways to deal with exclusion is prevention and talking with the children and having a plan ahead of time of how you will handle it. It's going to come up, and you just need to be proactive and know that this is how you are going to handle it in your classroom. The way I handle it may be different than the way someone else does, but you just need to come up with the way that works best for you. We work really hard to prevent exclusion in children because it's very easy for someone to get left out. So from the beginning of the year, from the very first day where they come for their visiting day, we talk about including everyone and that we're all friends together, and we try to make it a community and we even use the term friends. We talk about all of the children as being friends. So when we address the class, we don't call them boys or girls. We refer to the whole group as friends. So it starts from that very basic premise of we are all friends. If we find that a situation comes up where someone is being excluded, we have a class meeting and we sit down and we talk about it, and we talk about that child's feelings and how, you know, this child was not allowed to play, and how do you think that would feel, and how would you feel if you were left out? And very quickly, we find that starts to abate and go away.
I like you guys. You always have to follow us here. No, I want to play with you. Come on. We want to play by ourselves. Are we gonna still be friends? Yes.
In our classroom, we have a rule: you can't say you can't play. And we do remind them about that. It can be difficult when you have 3 children that are playing together. The natural tendency is for two of them to pair off and the other one to be the odd one out. And so we do work with this a lot and keep reminding them, you can't say you can't play. We might go home, we might go and say, if you want to have a play date with a friend, you need to do that at home because we all play together here at school. Or we might have a little problem-solving story time and set up with dolls and say, how does this, let's see what they're doing. Oh, these two are excluding the other friend. How does this one feel and why are they doing that? And help them to think it through. If you play act with dolls about the social problem-solving situations, then that helps them to remove the emotion from the situation. If you remind them about that later, oh, what did Clarice do in that situation? Instead of saying, what did you do, then they can think about it more constructively without getting so emotional about it and upset.